Thank you everybody for coming. This is very exciting, I think, for all of us, as we all have these big intentions and visions for community and what we want to create on the planet. And we are completely abundant in our resources and our ability to do that. And it's really just about coming together and seeing what's possible. And I'm just so incredibly inspired by this notion in so many different ways. And the other day I just had this like flood, you know, when someone's sick or not feeling well. I've had a couple of experiences where people come together and just surround somebody in love and affection and singing or, you know, touch or crystal or prayer, Reiki energy work, and I see how that person is transformed, like, for the rest of their life. You know, we're like reprogramming these old paradigms of unworthiness and separation and fear. And yeah, we're just so unbelievably powerful, and when we come together, it's just amplified even more. And I'm also inspired by a quote that I just heard, which was channeled through my friend Mayu, who's an amazing channel, by the way. She channels what we call our star guides. And hi, welcome. Welcome. And they said, so our star family said that the antidote to fear is creation. And I've just been totally inspired by that ever since, and I feel like we're transmuting this old paradigm that is essentially fear-based. And what's really gonna get us out of that is creation. What can we create a different way? So thanks everybody, and so thank you, Daniel, for bringing everyone together. Yay!
All right, and I just want to say thank you, everyone. I'm surprised we can fit everybody in this small room, in this small house. And I knew everybody who was supposed to show up would show up, and I'm stoked right now. So, just a little background about this. It's not my project. It's not my ideas. What this is basically my interpretation of the movement that is moving through myself and all of you. Everything is in motion and everything is changing, and we're going through such an intense change right now, and I think we all really feel that. So with this change and this movement, I'm really curious, and it's kind of like this social experiment right now. I'm really curious how this movement is moving, where it's going, and how we can clarify, bring some clarity to this energy that we're all feeling. And when I come together with like Naya or Michael or anybody, I realize that we all, when we start talking about our passions or our projects, we might see some similarities between my project, it's not really my project, but like our relationship with each other. So a couple days ago, actually I think it was like Tuesday, I met with Naya and I had this like really breakthrough moment. I felt like something was changing inside of me, and I realized that the work that I've been doing around this stuff for the last 3 years is kind of culminating to this point. And some projects that had certain names that I thought were separate from each other or just completely distinct are actually one and the same. And I'm realizing that's kind of happening with all of our interests, our passions, our projects. It's like there's a synthesis happening. So basically what I want to say is that what we're doing right now is we're kind of establishing a co-creative communion. We're going to be exploring together this vast expanse of human potential. It can go either way. It's like this massive ocean, or just a vast expanse of space with all these little potentialities everywhere. So I'm sure that we're feeling like society as a whole, like as a civilization. Oops. Go back there. Touch screen. We're feeling like something's breaking down. The old paradigm is dying, and it's scrambling to just eat more and eat more until it makes a chrysalis for itself. You know, it's like this big caterpillar that's eating itself and engorging itself. And so this wonderful quote by Richard Bach kind of sums up this transition beautifully. This is the ending and a beginning of a cycle. I don't feel like cycles really had an end or a beginning. They're just points where it kind of shifts into something new. So what might be crumbling is our conditioning to money, to having to exchange currency or exchange something to get what we want. When actually the most valuable thing for a person is who you are and the skills and the gifts that you bring to each other, to yourself. And so throughout millennia, we can see that we've been conditioned pretty heavily, especially in the last 100 years. Like it's been just conditioning after conditioning after conditioning. Going to school, what people think about you, the military, TV, the media, and how we have to fight for our survival, and fight for what we want, or fight for what we need. And at a very fundamental level, we have very specific needs. Here at the base level, you have breathing, you have your food, you have your water, you have sleep, homeostasis, balance, and sex, and excretion. And everything is built up on that foundation. So, in my eyes, what we all want, what we are all kind of going towards is to thrive, basically, to live in abundance, to live in a way that's harmonious with nature, that we're kind of with the rhythm of the cosmos. And when I was looking at this pyramid, I realized that it's a pyramid. And the pyramid sits on top of something. What does it sit on? It sits on the ground. And I knew that there's something that comes before breathing, eating, excreting, having sex, or sleeping. It's our connection with ourselves. It's our groundedness with ourselves. And that groundedness is really important because it feeds back into this entire system. And if we have a ground that's thriving, if we've established deep enough roots that can basically feed into the environment, because the pyramid is existing in the environment, we just want to create a nurturing place for this pyramid to be all it can be. And you see at the top, it says self-actualization, which I think is another word for a thriving human being. And when you have a thriving human being, anything's possible. There's creativity to the infinite, like, yeah. So when we have a thriving ground or a thriving environment, it feeds the whole system. It becomes kind of like this torus dynamic. There's a feedback mechanism in this whole thing. So on Earth, there's us, and we have our connection with ourselves. Solitude is really important. I feel like it's one of the most important things as a human, to make sure that we're aware of our own sovereignty and our uniqueness. And there's many ways of doing that, being caught up in your own projects or your passions, and having that your own perspective feeding back into you. Oops. And then, there's meditation, which I think is really important as well. And our own connection with our own spirit, our own source. And so when we're connecting with ourselves, and we're connecting into that singularity, that source within us, we're more easily able to connect with each other in a really deep way, because we're all feeling that same rhythm within us. Even though the rhythm within us is kind of a different melody, or it's a different kind of sound or frequency, essentially it's part of the same rhythm. We're all human, we all bleed the same, we all pretty much look the same. Arms, legs, head. So, when we are connecting with each other, there's a rapport that happens, and this rapport is strengthened by intimacy. Intimacy is not really about getting naked and cuddling with each other or something like that. It's not really about touch. That's a very minute fraction of intimacy. Intimacy is really more about authenticity. It's about being open and trusting each other and going, I have this problem, or I'm really excited about this, and sorry. What's happening?
You're really excited there.
Like jump back, jump forward, bunch. There we go. No, sorry. Okay. So that intimacy, the greater the intimacy, the greater the level that we have when we're connecting with each other, of intimacy, of being open and not really holding anything back or hiding anything. Everything's out in the open. That really creates a greater love, a greater connection with each other, greater power within the group, even if it's just two people. It's, if we have a relationship, like an intimate relationship, like boyfriend-girlfriend, or boyfriend-boyfriend, girlfriend-girlfriend, it's like, depending on the level of intimacy, the level of depth, the level of, I've got nothing to hide, I'm sharing everything with you, there is a greater love that happens, and we can really see that. And if it doesn't happen, then you can see those people usually break up, or there's not that depth that they're looking for. And relationship is actually, I think, different than connection or intimacy. Relationship is how we relate to each other. It's how we communicate our perspectives. And our perspectives are precious. That's why there's so many of us, because we need to look at infinity in so many different ways. Possibly an infinite number of ways. So this relationship is important, especially concerning intimacy, because we have to just let our criticisms, our opinions, our judgments, our dissatisfactions, our fears, everything, just lay it out on the table, and just make sure that we're not shutting each other down for having something to say. It's just like letting it all play out, and if the bond, or the intimate bond, is strong enough, we can really establish a greater relationship and have that process of, I have this fear, or I have this dissatisfaction, to just dissolve and transform or alchemize into something else. And then this relationship with each other causes, when there's a strong, intimate bond and we have great relationship with each other, we can really look into our network and how our geometry is, because a network is a matrix, and a matrix is basically geometry. And we'll get into that more in a bit. So a network is really about, if we're looking into the network or the matrix consciously, we can really establish a greater interconnectedness and really solidify that, and make sure that it's kind of like the internet, like Facebook. Like we didn't really know that a particular person was really interested in that, or this person had this project or something like that. Even though Facebook is not really the end all, it's a great tool, but it's not really something that's physical. And the physical is what we really need to step into as a society, instead of focusing on social networking on the internet. And I feel like we're really hungry for that as a culture, as a society, and in fact the whole world. I mean, you see it. That's why Facebook has over 1 billion users, because we're all like really wanting to connect, but we're like not that intimate enough to like really connect with each other and like establish that network, that intimacy, and that relationship with each other. So it's all about connection. And how we come together, how we connect with each other is all about magnetism. It's about attraction. So not everybody, I don't really feel like everybody on this planet is really going to come together at once. Like I feel like there is pods, there's groups, there's tribes that are really resonant and really coherent with each other. And the more pods there are, I think the better. But not like saying this is my pod or like this is my crew. You know, like being able to like branch out and connect with other shapes, other geometries out there. So at the top of the pyramid we saw self-actualization, or basically the ability to thrive. And that kind of requires a journey within. And when we get really clear on who we are as a person, we can then get really clear on our intention, our drive, what's happening, like this, what I was talking about earlier about the movement within us, this energy. Excuse me. There's this ebb and flow that happens with magnetism. So you have the north and south nodes of the magnet that attract and repel. And there's attraction and repulsion even in human dynamics. Like some people are like, and some people are like, you know, like naturally we're going to find our own groups. And over time, if we're authentic in our own being, and we're connected, we're going to go from group to group to group. But each time we engage into a new circle, it's coherent. We're just going to keep connecting with each other, new people, gaining new perspectives. And when we self-actualize, when we're in a thriving state, we can then focus on our projects, on what we want to create in the world. And what's happening right now in this room is we're kind of creating this co-creative communion. And just so you guys know, I'm not going to go through this whole presentation for the whole 2 hours, just so you know. We're going to have some time to really connect and drop in together and discuss what is being talked about here. So at that thriving level, we can start engaging our projects and engaging our intentions. And eventually those projects will, it's almost like it puts out a scent. It puts out this frequency that other people are like, whoa, what's that? And they go over there and they start mingling with each other, and they're like, well, I'm really interested in your project. Or sometimes you'll have somebody that says, you know, your project's bullshit or something. And you just gotta like listen just deeply to that, because it's really valuable. Like everything that reality or the universe gives you is really, really valuable. And these projects can create fruit that contains seeds. And the intention, this drive that makes us come together. And being here on Kauai, on this small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on a small planet in the Milky Way galaxy is like, you know, we keep coming together over and 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 over, and we keep seeing the same people. Sometimes we see new people, sometimes we don't. Some people leave, you know, some people come back, but we keep seeing each other. I see everybody in this room, I know. I've seen you before. And I've established some type of bond with you. And I feel like the reason why we keep coming together is because we need to look at things together, I suppose, and just like love on each other, basically. Just like give. Give and give and give, because in the giving there's the receiving. But with intention, it's kind of like this guidance system of the human form. It's like this navigational tool. And when we establish a very conscious intention and we keep becoming aware of it, we keep focusing on it, and we use our will to take action towards that intention, we can really create a lot of change in a little bit of time. I mean, if it was just one person, it might take a lot longer, but we have like 20 people together, maybe more. If we're all focusing on one single intention together, and we're syncing up, we can, I don't know, this is an experiment for me, because I'm really curious as to what will happen, and I think maybe we all are. So, even when we're coming together as a community, we have weak links. And when I say a community, in this sense, I'm talking about the globe. As a planetary civilization, as a planetary species, we cannot thrive if we have weak links. If we have children that are starving, or just a singular person getting a ridiculous amount of wealth that they have no reason to have, or they don't even know what to do with it, and they're like blowing it on like whatever. I don't even know what they're blowing it on. Like war, like, or just, you know, just creating a lot of chaos.
War and strippers.
Yes. And I'm not sure if any of you are aware of a Japanese, or an ancient Japanese, I don't know what to call it, practice, I guess. If a bowl or some type of plate or something breaks, and you know they may not have, actually they could very well possibly have the money to do it if they're filling the gaps in with gold, but but the reason why I think they would fill the gaps in with gold if it breaks, if it shatters, is because instead of just throwing it away, they could just bring it back together, and it's so much more beautiful now. It has a story behind it. It has some type of beautiful imperfection about it, and it's not really an imperfect thing, because nothing's really imperfect. It's all perfect in its own way because of how things are balancing out. So, with, you know, a starving child, we need to just, you know, as a planetary civilization, as a planetary species, give that child so much, like this guy, give him or give them so much that their trauma about being hungry or not having enough, or their whole pain and suffering is just dissolved, and then they can open up as a human being once again and live out their life, follow their bliss, do what they love. I think that's the whole point of being a human, is just living fully. So, yes. So nothing's broken. So there's a major difference between equality and justice. in this picture, you can see that you have these three people. You have a really short person, kind of average height, and a really ridiculously tall guy. And you have these boxes, and they're all trying to watch this game. And they're trying to see over the wall, but some of these guys, like this little guy, he can't see over the wall because he got just one box, when he really needs two boxes. And this guy, he doesn't need a box at all. You know, he can just give his box to this guy. And everybody is seeing eye to eye. Everybody's seeing equal. So I feel like justice, even though we've kind of heard this word, we kind of feel like it's kind of a harsh thing. It's not really a harsh thing. It's just, you know, weighing things out, like who needs what, and then distributing that from that kind of balance. Justice is really about balance, as we can see here. So this guy actually needs to give his boxes to this guy. And I feel like justice is the process of equality, of becoming an equal, seeing eye to eye. Because if this was equality, nobody's seeing eye to eye. It's still the same problem. So, yeah. So basically, it's really, how do we mend the weak links? It's not really weak links. We're just using that term just because if we're gonna come together and be strong as a unit, we need to make sure that we're strong as a unit and look at the parts that are needing help, basically. So, coherence. Someone want to define coherence?
Strong correlation within a system.
Yes. I feel like another word for coherence is wholeness or completeness. And in terms of intention, if one is really committed, they're devoted, and they're disciplined enough to follow through with the intention that they're wanting or they're needing to follow through with as a human being, then that creates coherence in the system, because instead of being like, you know, I really want this thing, but with like a lack of discipline, and by discipline I mean like if you're intending to eat healthy and you open up the fridge and you have like a green drink with like all your nutrition in that smoothie, and then you have the piece of cake. And it's like with lack of discipline, you could be like, oh, I'm going to go for the piece of cake because it's what I'm used to, and it's delicious. But the green smoothie is delicious too. So we just have to kind of guide ourselves and kind of make sure that we're aligned with our intention.
Don't buy cake.
And or every once in a while, do it with intention. That's the point.
GMO free, GMO free.
So I feel like as a community, so we're just talking about intention, and as a community, I feel like a coherent community can only exist if each individual is coherent within themselves. So if an individual is not really coherent, but is really wanting or is really attracted to the pod or the tribe with the community, then it's up to the community to help that person become complete and whole, coherent within themselves. So when that person's activated, like, woo, I'm feeling so good, like, let's do this, and like that really amps everybody up. And happiness is contagious. When I'm happy, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, I want to ask you why you're so happy. Or, you know, any type of emotional wave is inherently contagious. Unless you're so solid in your own being that it doesn't really affect you because you know your own truth. And like, oh, that's kind of their thing, but I want to help them. Anyway. So this is a isotropic vector matrix, and that's kind of a mouthful, and some of you may be in tune with this kind of thing, but this is a really beautiful geometry, I feel like. And basically isotropic means equidistant. It means kind of equal from two distance. And a vector is a line. And a matrix is basically a bunch of nodes connecting with each other, and it forms kind of like this web or network. So here we have 12 nodes around one. And these 12, I feel like create a really coherent system. It's efficient, and it's actually able to, it's a fractal geometry, so it's able to scale up and down. And I'll leave it up to you guys to look into this geometry, because it's got some really awesome dynamics that actually create the torus dynamic that is our own field. It's in the Earth, it's the sun, the galaxy. It's basically a fundamental pattern. So this 12 around 1 is basically how I am seeing an efficient community run itself. You have 12 people, or 13 people actually, because one's going to be in the center at some point. And so these 13 people, every 28 days, one person goes into the center, and for 28 days, that person is given the time and the energy and the resources, if need be, to that one person for 28 days, to move them in the direction of fulfilling their dream, their ultimate desire, living out their bliss, basically, to help them thrive, to activate them, basically. And it's kind of like King Arthur's Round Table, where you have a bunch of people getting together and talking about things and discussing and networking. Like, hey, you need film, like, or you need someone to like videotape this event that you're doing. Well, I got this person, or however it works out. It's like when we have a finite number of people there working coherently, and they're all unified in this intention, then it's a really powerful thing. So after 13 moon cycles of 20 days each, everybody in the whole system has had a chance to receive. And I'm sure all of you might have experienced in your lifetime giving to someone unconditionally, and how good that feels. And that's the whole premise of this thing, is to just give unconditionally, because in that giving you receive. There's no like one-way street. It's not a one-way street at all. It's like when you give, you feel good, and that's enough for receiving. So when we are working with, I know copyright, it's
I call them the semi.
Don't tell me that.
Fundamental pattern.
So I have this one up because it's 64 tetrahedrons. And with the 64 tetrahedrons, you have a critical mass, basically. This is the simplest the vector equilibrium can be, as far as when you're using tetrahedrons. So if you can imagine a bunch of those 12 around 1, basically 13 people, engaging in something like this, and that there's a critical mass, naturally that critical mass is going to want to split off. Someone's going to have to take the torch, per se, and move into starting their own, it's not really their own, but starting some type of movement with another group. So it's kind of like a cell dividing. That cell dividing is not like this cell is different from this cell. it's basically the same cell, it's just cloning itself. And a tree does the same thing. It reaches maturity, it produces fruit, which have the seeds, and people and animals come by and they eat the fruit, and sometimes the seeds get into the ground and they're able to grow. But the same thing is happening here. It's like the pod or the collective is reaching this critical mass, it's reaching this maturity, and then it splits off, basically, and it creates basically lookalikes, I guess. And they're all kind of different from each other.
Wait, are you saying that the 64 is comprised of multiple cycles of 13?
I know the math doesn't work,
Okay.
but there's a specific geometry, and
Okay.
I was like,
Just wondering.
yeah. So with these cycles, we have our own biorhythms. When we need to eat, when we need to drink water, when we need to sleep, when we need to have sex, when we need to procreate, when we need to go to the bathroom, when we need to meditate, when we need to create, follow our intuition, so on and so forth. And all these cycles are influenced by the greater cycles of the cosmos. So the cycles of the earth, the cycles of the moon, the sun, and the seasons, and the cycles of weather, the cycles of the galaxy, and essentially, ultimately containing the entire universe. They all have an effect on our consciousness. And when we align ourselves with these rhythms, when we look at astrology and how a particular day might affect the consciousness of the collective, and we really look at that and we make decisions kind of loosely on those dynamics, those energies, and we align ourselves with those larger rhythms, we can basically get a lot of power out of that, a lot of guidance, and a lot of how can I say it? Just being able to drop in to those rhythms.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, it kind of creates this this music, and so as you can see, you have the cycles of everything here in this picture. And what is a rhythm that we can consciously engage, that we can consciously work with?
Breath.
Breath, yes. The breath is really, at its core, like amazing. We're able to just forget about it and just kind of go unconsciously, and our body kind of breathes itself. But if we're able to engage that consciously and breathe together, breathe fully together, we can drop into these cycles within ourselves. It all starts within, and then it kind of goes without. So, and we also have technological cycles that are affecting us when we turn on the lights, which is really, it's not even a cycle, it's like this kind of glitch, like it comes on, and our body senses those photons coming into us, and our body can shift, and then there are the cycles of like phones and TVs that are they're sporadic, basically, and those can have kind of a negative effect on us because we've been conditioned in society in the last 100 years to rely on time, which is a technological cycle overlaid on top of the biological cycles. So, yeah, it's really interesting, and I'd love to explore that with all of you, how we would tap into these greater cycles and kind of not do away with, like, kick the technology out, because it's a necessary transition. It's a necessary tool for our transition. So it's like, how can we look through those technological cycles and focus more on the biological cycles, biorhythms?
And Daniel, speaking of times, time check, it's a little after 8.
Oh, it is?
Just so you know.
Well, it's only, okay, we've only been for 30 minutes, so, thank you. I know I get kind of on tangents. So, I'd just like to talk about the metaphor of gears. The chakras are said to be spinning wheels, or we can just see them as gears. And so, as an organism that is deeply connected to the entire universe, we could say that the entire universe is basically a bunch of gears. And it's kind of crude when I say that, but just bear with me. So if the universe is made up of gears, and it's kind of like this big machine, this huge dynamic, then I would say the intention is the drive. It's how we put on the brake or put on the throttle and go really fast or stop. Or, we're able to control how we're moving through the universe with intention. And the collective, this planetary species that we are, is the vessel. And we're all kind of trying to take the wheel in our own lives. It's not really there. It's like we're constantly being guided by the collective. It might feel like we have some choice in what we do or where we go, but if it's like being in a river, the river is flowing in a certain way and it's going to go in a very particular direction, but you have like 50 or 100 yards in the width to kind of do your own thing. And it might seem like you have a lot of free room or free will, but it's not. Essentially, it's kind of an illusion. You're just going to keep going down the river. So, so how can we use the machine of the universe with hyper efficiency and be there with each other? So the universe, if you break it down, it's basically one verse or one song. And we all have different voices, we all have things to say, and we have different perspectives. And it's like, how can we begin to sing the same song, with the same kind of melody, and honor each other's unique voices, and make sure that we're on rhythm, on beat, Like, I feel like that's what we're all really wanting to do. And I kind of see it as really, really beautiful when we all come together and do something like that. So let's join together and create a symphony.
Woo!
Yeah. Can I share something on that note real quick?
And Kara has something to share.
Oh, okay. Just on that voice thing. I don't know if anybody knows the Bible at all, but in Revelation it actually talks about on Mount Zion, everyone's singing a song, but in their own, like they'd be singing their own story, but it's this big song sung on Mount Zion. Pretty fitting, since technically this is Mount Zion, we're sitting on it.
Guess I didn't have this on the whole time. It's all good. Okay.
I got this slide, which is actually a really special slide, to talk about heart math, the intelligence of the heart, and some of the nervous system functioning that I talk about. And I have a presentation that incorporates the unified field theory of Nassim, the awareness of space being full of energy, and in an infinite system, every point being its center. So understanding that we have the dual torus dynamics and this infinity there with the heart lit up. It's really beautiful. And just to talk about a few things that Daniel spoke about, this just resonance, just to understand that basically. If we had a bunch of chimes in the room and we rang an A note, then all the other A notes would ring. This awareness that resonance creates activity based on like attracts like, based on this frequency similarity and the stimulation that creates. And coherence, what do you call it, William? The feedback within a system?
Well, strong correlation.
Correlation, yeah, strong correlation. So when we talk about heart coherence, the way that our nervous system gets into coherence is through positive emotions. So when you look at the biorhythm of someone feeling appreciation and positive emotions, it's a very even sine wave. And when they're in chaotic emotions of anger, that's a very rigid, jagged, there's no correlation happening. In the coherence, there's very similar, there's the correlation within the system. And there's many positive aspects to feeling coherence in your nervous system, which again comes through this perception of being happy and feeling love or feeling affection or feeling care towards someone. And because we are high-powered energy systems, these feedback loops of what the body is, the heart, it has the highest electromagnetic field of the body, which why that's such an appropriate picture. There's a quote by Sir Thomas Brown. I'm looking up Sir William Brown soon, I think. Sir Thomas Brown says, "Life is an invisible flame, and life is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us." So that sense that we're in this field, the sea of energy, the sea of love that's infinitely dense, and at every point being its center, our heart has the highest singularity, it is the singularity, and therefore generates the highest electromagnetic field of the body. So one of the monks at Self-Realization Fellowship talked about free will, and he said, of course I have free will, I have no choice. And in that sense that once you're tapped in, you're perceiving, your nervous system is always processing the environment 50%, and you're guiding the processes that happen in your body neurochemically, hormonally, through how you perceive, because everything's listening to your meaning making. So you can't not perceive, your nervous system's always perceiving, and how you navigate that, how you guide it with your focus, and how you guide your meaning making makes all the difference in your resonance and all the neurochemical processes and all the electrical down to the atomic DNA. There's water in every function of our body, and our water, our genetics, our DNA are listening to how we make meaning and how we feel. And resonance in terms of the biology, when you do get in proximity with someone, your organ functions start resonating, they're speaking to each other based on that idea of resonance. So you have a huge effect on just they measure the heart field like 12 to 15 feet, but I know it's larger. But just thinking of 15 feet outside of yourself, you're having a big impact on the energy around you. And so again, in proximity and relation, it makes a big difference because we are fully empathetic. What the science shows us in this field that's absolutely connected, that basic logic, if the universe is infinite, every point must be its center, that awareness of being absolutely interconnected to everyone. Even though our nervous systems might not be trained to feel empathetically what every person in this room is feeling, because of the proximity, we do feel it. Our nervous system's registering it. We register the guy in the house over there and the person across the world. We really are that absolutely interconnected. And so to train ourselves more on how to use that focus, he had the 3 circles. One was attention, one was focus, and one was will. And I like to use it because the Trinity is so important in all these ancient texts and in different understanding of geometry. But in Hinduism, they have Sat Chit Ananda, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. And one of the physicists talked about the most basic equation that he could come up for to understand consciousness and our living was that I am the observed link between myself and observing myself. So that I am the observed link that's ever new now. The field is always adjusting to every perspective put in. There's this feedback dynamic happening at every scale in our nervous systems and all the way up and all the way down. So that feedback loop where I am the observed link between myself and observing myself. So Sat Chit Ananda again is existence, consciousness, bliss. So when you have attention, I would say being existence, and focus being consciousness, how you focus your awareness in that field of existence. And when you focus that awareness on positive, on gratitude, you reach ananda, or the bliss, the experience of happiness. And so that will to experience, to perceive on that highest meaning making takes, an incorporation of your whole system. But one of the biggest pieces of research that HeartMath did was that they, as far as showing coherence and how we are connected to the future and how we sense the future, they showed emotionally charged pictures to people, and they were registering people's heart waves, and the heart was registering the emotion 6 seconds before they saw the picture come up on the screen. So that awareness of how we are connected to all the space-time coordinates we've been going through as our planet's moving through space at amazing speeds, and how we're imprinting all those space-time coordinates, we're also as connected to those space-time coordinates that we're being fed forward into, all the infinite potential of the alignment of synchronicities in all of our paths. And just in terms of how we understand being in presence and that great magnetism you talked about. That there was a quote, I don't know it exactly, but it was something about how our souls are creating the connections with us way before our bodies ever meet. There's this magnetism that where the root of the soul is this heart frequency, and that you were kind of saying that we kind of we sort of have direction within the flow of the river. And that awareness of magnetism at the heart level being the highest singularity, being a huge amount of energy transferring, that root of the soul is really the largest magnetism that we have. So that where we, where like attracts like, we have synchronicities of meeting people on a small island of people who are similar, who have similar goals, and how the universe brings us together is usually way beyond what our thinking mind could have aligned the details to make happen. So that place where we really get the implications of this field that's full, that we're interconnected, and the way to live by that of being able to listen to your intuition, listen to the sense of the future that we are having, and paying attention to that larger magnetism of people that come into our field, because that's just no small event with anyone in our field, as well as the future connections that are aligning based on our soul magnetism. It's kind of our insurance policy, really, in a way. And yet how we make meaning is everything's listening to it. So our focus on the daily and laying down new cascades of impulses of coherence will then just feed forward more coherence as you lay them down. And we all have trauma, and we all have patterns of incoherence, and that's where like attracts like, and we resonate with people similar to ourselves, and yet we're all doing our work to bring a lot of trauma and patterns in our nervous system into more coherence. And so as we get together and we get creative and we support each other, then we're all just strengthening that bubble of coherence and feeding that into the field more and more. That 100th monkey, the more that we put that awareness into the field, the more accessible it's going to be. The more we put the coherence into our nervous system, the more accessible, the more it will feed forward for us. So that discipline, as well as the breath being the only function in the body that's both conscious and subconscious, whereas the cetacean nation, the whales and dolphins, every breath for them is a conscious act. They have to come to the surface to breathe. For humans, we can sleep and forget about it, and we're still breathed by our change in pressure, the difference in pressure of our breathing. And yet, if you look at a child, you can see its whole emotional state by watching his or her breathing. As for ourselves, we can get into coherence just through changing our breath. And they did a little experiment with HeartMath coherence. When they did a cycle of breathing that followed the Fibonacci sequence, the equiangular spiral, the phi spiral, they breathed out for a cycle of 11, and they breathed in for a cycle of 7. So breathing into a count of 7 and breathing out to a count of 11, or breathing into a count of 8 and breathing out to a count of 13, 7 and 11, 8 and 13. They found that they were in coherence the whole time. It really didn't even matter on the easier level of the biofeedback. It didn't matter what they were thinking, because their breathing brought them into coherence. And that the importance of the exhale, to really fully exhale, because your body will breathe itself. So just those few tips on when we're with each other, again, our responsibility to really put positive emotions into the field for ourselves, and when we're with each other, we can have such a synergy, which I think is your purpose of this, where 1 + 1 is more than 2. The resonance makes something greater happen. And so, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I'm being grateful for being here.
And William has something to say.
Sir William Brass.
Sir William.
So, this is, I'm just going to give a brief kind of talk on art, science, and spirituality, and how they come together, actually, in a very important and profound way. So this is a beautiful graphic that Daniel found because they're all in the center of this creative consciousness. But a lot of what I've been studying is exactly this. Because when you get those components of science, art, and spirituality that come together, you see something, or more something is discovered that is beautiful. And the reason it is beautiful, I believe, is that there's a truth in it, universal truth. And we see that in one area specifically, and that's geometry. Geometry really is the fundamental mechanics of the universe, of reality. You often hear that mathematics is the language of the universe. Well, all mathematics can be succinctly demonstrated in geometry. And, there's no mystery why the mystery schools, ancient traditions, and wisdom, geometry is foundational. It's in every single one of these wisdom traditions, like the Pythagorean mystery tradition comes to mind. But and really, this should be just like abhorrently evident. I wish it was more so to scientists, because our world is built out of form and structure. Geometry underlies everything. And so that is what we're finding. So geometric solutions to quantum gravity, particle interactions. Like they recently came out with the amplituhedron, which is a hyperdimensional, multidimensional fractal crystalline grid geometry that they use to describe particle interactions that used to take literally hundreds of sheets of mathematical equations. And this book touches on it beautifully, so I'd just like to, so this is the beauty of fractals. And so fractal structure is where you get, well fractal geometries is where you get the union of science, art, and spirituality. The spirituality doesn't always jump out at you, but actually this right here, the mathematicians call it the fingerprint of God, the thumbprint of God. And that's a really appropriate description. This is the Mandelbrot set. What's that?
Mandelbrot?
The Mandelbrot set. This is one of the most amazing discoveries to have occurred in the last 100 years. This is called, just by the way, it's called a cardioid, which it stems from the Greek meaning heart, like cardiac, dioid. So at the heart of this geometric reality is a heart. Yeah, but actually, I mean, this is the template level of reality. This is actually plotted on what's called the complex plane. Another mathematical description for that is the imaginary domain. Nothing occurs within the physical domain without first passing to the imaginary domain. This is a mathematical fact. That's how this is made. This is the level, the template level of reality where we work with form, structure, imagery, and imagination to bring it into a physical reality. I wish that I could have maybe inserted some slides because it really, from this structure that Mandelbrot said, you get beautiful pictures. But they're mathematical descriptions. I mean, you can plot, you plot complex dynamic interactions with these. Complex dynamics, a chaotic system, which really just means an unpredictable system, is a living system. It's usually us as a community. When we come together as a community, it's a complex, unpredictable system, complex dynamics, but there's an underlying order, underlying geometry to it, although it's not always evident. I'm sure you can see this, Julia said, you know, this is just one point within that fractal Mandelbrot set. So even within the most seeming chaotic, seemingly random, complex events, there's an underlying order. And it just so happens to actually be hyperdimensional. The ordering principle occurs in the same plane as our higher awareness or higher consciousness, which is the orchestrator. And when we become more coherent with that level, by becoming more coherent within ourselves, we become more coherent interpersonally and as a super organism, a community. So just really quickly, the frontiers of chaos. This is a quote, and of course, it's by Einstein. Apparently, everything this man ever said was brilliant. So, you know, just get something he said, put it in a book. You gotta put it. Where the world ceases to be the stage for personal hopes and desires, where we, as free beings, behold it in wonder, to question and to contemplate, there we enter the realm of art and of science. If we trace out what we behold and experience through the language of logic, we are doing science. If we show it in forms whose interrelationships are not accessible to our conscious thought, but are intuitively recognized as meaningful, we are doing art. Common to both is the deep devotion to something beyond the personal, removed from the arbitrary. It's not in there, that's the spiritual. so I mean, even ostensibly one of the most brilliant minds of our time, in a way, in a sense, saw this is, you know, hugely important. You know, I just love when the world ceases to be the stage for personal hopes and desires, and it's more the stage to behold and just wonder. You know, that's really cool. There's some more. There's a really cool discourse. I could read a little bit more.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So science and art, two complementary ways of experiencing the natural world. The one analytic, the other intuitive. We've become accustomed to seeing them as opposite poles, yet don't they depend on one another? The thinker, trying to penetrate natural phenomena with his understanding, seeking to reduce all complexity to a few fundamental laws. Isn't he also the dreamer, plunging himself into the richness of forms and seeing himself as part of the eternal play of natural events? This experience of oneness, which the individual may feel finds no counterpart in the intellectual history of the last 200 years, as if they felt too confined in one soul, the mind of art and the mind of science have parted. One Faust has become two one-dimensional beings. Faust, just real quick, I didn't know what it was, but it's like the Faustian bargain. So it's a little part from that Faust. How can this be done if Faust was right in his diagnosis when it was said, mysterious in the light of day, nature retains her veil, despite our clamors. That which she doth not willingly display cannot be wrenched from her with levers, screws, and hammers. Intuitive is what is needed. So, you know, he was just saying that when we split science and spirituality, it's science and art, we lost our most potent tool at getting beyond the veil, which is the point we're at now, to get to the deeper meaning, which you can't do with laboratory instruments, with the penetrating tools of logic, but you can do it with intuition, spirituality, and art. So the divergence seems irreversible. And what both sides promoted together during the Enlightenment is now out of balance. The courage to use one's own reason has turned to presumptuousness. The cool rationality of science and technology has pervaded and transformed the world to such an extent that it could destroy human life. The inspiration of the arts can only respond with bitterness. Should I keep going? A little bit more?
Restore the balance.
Of course, this tension affects the natural sciences. Many mature thinkers are becoming aware of the inadequacies of established wisdom. In spite of great unifying successes in elementary particle physics or sequence analysis and molecular genetics, the creed of the fundamentalists has lost its exclusive attractiveness. It is no longer sufficient to discover basic laws and understand how the world works in principle. It becomes more and more important to figure out the patterns through which these principles show themselves in reality. The geometry, the underlying order. More than just fundamental laws are operating in what actually is. Every nonlinear process leads to branch points, to forks in the path at which the system may take one branch or another. Decisions are made whose consequences cannot be predicted because each decision has the character of an amplification, which is a pretty apt description of the macrograph as well. But, you know, so it's really, really speaking a lot to how much weight we've placed on the science, the analytical side of things, perhaps lost sight of some of the more powerful methods we have for comprehending ourselves in reality, art, our spirituality, and consciousness. So.
Thank you, Willie.
Yep.
Karen, thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Amazing, just what you guys bring, what everybody's bringing here tonight is awesome. So we're approaching the end of this entire presentation. And I know we started 30 minutes late, so We might have half hour or maybe an hour, depending on how everybody feels, to just share thoughts, questions, comments. Questions are great because it kind of opens us up to other potentialities. So, with intention and with coherency, and looking deeply within, we have a destination. We have someplace we want to be, which is to thrive, to be in that loving space pretty much all the time, and just letting everything play out and just enjoying life, enjoying reality, and playing when we can. And when we have that destination, instead of going from where we're at now, which is really important, to Z, like A to Z, we go back from Z to A. We see that point and we kind of like reverse engineer all the way back to where we are now, which makes things much easier. So there's not that kind of like unexpected thing, which is always going to happen, but having that path, I think, is really crucial to how we navigate. And so, oh my gosh, really? I haven't bought the app, so it's saying I can't advance my slides. So, yeah, there you go. So we're butterflies now. We're emerging from the chrysalis, and it's absurd. So here we are. We're kind of emerging from this old paradigm, this old way of doing things, and we're going into, we're basically sprouting wings individually, and let's go fly somewhere kick-ass and just live happily ever after. So, yeah, I think I'm complete with this presentation. So you can click the
Thanks,
arrow.
Daniel. I love how you close with the butterflies, because monarchs fly here to just hang out and drink nectar. It's kind of what we all did.
Hey,
probably.
we're already here. Let's make the best of this paradise that we're living in.
We're all butterflies.
Ooh, there's light. As a group, if maybe we can kind of get into more of a circle, and we'll start moving into the next little bit here.
How was that shape of the How was that originally discovered, and what is it in simplest terms represent?
It was discovered by a guy.
How do you want to do it?
It's basically the simplest equation you can have, but the answer is fed back in the equation infinitely.
Yeah, so it's got a member, and so it's actually extremely simplistic.
There's no C up here.
That's the
So,
equation.
yeah, so really, this is actually a little bit more complicated. So
Written down some questions. So basically, we're just going to move into some questions like that are kind of pertaining to what's been discussed in the. I mean, we haven't actually had a discussion yet. That's the thing. I want to have, just what's been inspiring you with this kind of inspiration? Actually, what's been inspiring you lately? What's been your passion and any projects that you have? And we're not really going to get into sharing our projects specifically. That will come at probably another event gathering, because I intend to keep this kind of energy going. My intention with this gathering was to basically to activate and conduct and choreograph the energies that were kind of like there within us. And so as a group, as a collective, right here, right now, how can we choreograph these energies and yeah.
Well,
What's
I'm
the
on
next step?
the art spectrum of it.
Yeah.
I really want to start doing like something with theater to allow people to play, because again, like I was telling her, is everyone's too serious, and I just want everyone to like let loose and be who they are and laugh and joke and not have to be all tense, and because I can feel the energy of like the room, and it's like it just kind of drives me insane. 'Cause I'm like, everyone just be who you are. Who cares? Like, it's like someone has to fart and they're probably like holding it in. For like, oh God, I hope no one. So that's what I want to bring back into not the farting aspect. Just to keep, like, I want to teach people how to play. I want to teach people how to be who they are, and who gives a shit what other people think, and just everyone just relax. Jesus, life doesn't have to be so fucking serious.
Oh.
Like, you can be spiritual, you can be a scientist, but you can also play. So that's what I'm all about. It's just everyone just play, laugh, sing, dance, whatever you want. 'Cause we all have something to create. We all have something. We all have a vision, and we can all just share it. It's okay, and it's okay to be who you are. So yeah.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit, I just watched a TED Talk. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but this Bulgarian man had a couple companies that pretty much they failed, and he started doing research on the components of success, and they've actually found that play makes you more successful. I don't know, of course, the details about it, but
play or laughter and joy?
play, well, that's,
It's all involved.
yeah, it's the
Right.
same.
I mean, some people, they don't play, but they still have a lot of laughter and joy somehow, whether it be music or something, but they're just constantly happy, and I feel like that
Wasn't that a
gravitates.
form of play?
Could be, music.
It's all
Yeah.
I think the
Playing
nervous
music.
system's got to ring, just like Kara said. It's got to get that little fork ringing.
So maybe we could just say how much time we're looking at for shares. Like that.
I think considering it's 10 minutes till 9, how is everybody feeling? Like,
Does anyone need to go to bed? To get their rest?
I think maybe we'll just go a little bit past 9, and we'll just kind of let, I think what you said, Morgan, was just really, really wonderful. Like, just, if you have something to share that is, like, pertinent, please share. And, yeah, go
Well,
for it.
what I picked up on was, one of the concepts you brought out was creating a system where, over the course of a year, several people are supported into bringing their dreams into fruition, which will in turn activate other people's ideas and create a momentum. And that could, I saw how that could exist within a greater community, but you could also work on having that exist within an intentional community where you all live in the same land. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm just kind of like, I mean, I'm down for that sort of situation. I envision that, and I can see part of the impetus for this gathering is tied up in that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I could see the opportunity for people to bring, or to discuss what they want to bring to it, and what that looks for them, to start designing a vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm pretty much intending for all of this, because I know, Dave, you have permaculture expertise, as well as Rachel, who couldn't be here today. Not you. You're here. William has
very specific set of skills that he can bring to this, and it's like we all have something to bring, and I just want to make sure that we're aware of who has invested their time and their energy into their own interest and their own passions. So yeah, eventually we'll be able to share that with each other, and I intend of making a kind of like an internet hub where we can kind of just put it out there. But essentially I think it's more worthwhile to just engage each other in the physical, like instead of being like typing each other a message like, hey, I need this from you. You know, it's kind of ambiguous and you're like, I don't know about this. But if you're like with somebody and you're asking, you know, it's like an authentic exchange, then it's easy to go, yeah, I'll totally do that. I'm like stoked to do
You
that.
can see their intention more.
Yeah, exactly. So, I definitely really want to engage what we already have, and this is not my project. I just put together a presentation of something that I was feeling on Tuesday, that has been the culmination of the last, pretty much my entire life, but I would say really steadfast, like 3 years of my life. So, like, I want to just make this open source. Like, it's not copyrighted, you know. I'm never gonna like do that because it's already happening whether we know it or not. It's already playing out, and it's like let's just engage it and grab the bull by the horns. And
A level of organization can bring it together.
Yeah.
at a level.
yeah. So if you have something that you want to bring, like a graphic, or Dave, you might have some very specific things that we can learn from permaculture, because I feel like permaculture is kind of a reflection of life, and it's like how can we harmoniously live with nature and engage that efficiency that we already see. So.
Dave actually said something really cool. He reminded me that permaculture is not necessarily biological. That if it's effectively, you could be creating a permaculture network just by your very presentation. That would be considered permaculture too.
Yeah.
It just has to be sustainably permanent or permanently sustainable. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when you get into rules, but there's certain things. There's a whole movement of social permaculture. That's not my focus. I kind of look at it, but it's using the design principles towards using it for other systems, and you can look it up. There's people who are only interested in that. I imagine it would take like some design principle, like a permaculture principle, like every element has multiple functions. So you're finding efficiencies through maximizing the connections at every level. So you're looking for more and more of those connections rather than fewer. But I'm drawn towards something else that I've always sort of felt that was important, and it was mentioned earlier, synergy. And so I try to find the synergy between myself and every single person I meet. It's not always there, or it's not always apparent, but I think that alone, that's sort of the same thing with finding multiple functions. The synergy that we have together gets us efficiency towards greater whatever we're looking for, I guess.
Go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, because everyone has something in common with someone else. Something.
Yeah.
There's always something.
That's actually where I was gonna roll into, is when Daniel told me about this. My epiphanies were that we wouldn't necessarily. I saw it as a fractal, and it's all feeding into the center. And if we can all figure out what that center is.
Well, we all have that in common. We're all here for the new world.
So
that's the center.
Yeah.
Right, and now the architecture is, I think, what we're trying to like organically create right here. I have my own architecture for my own organization, and I'm using sacred geometry, and it's working. It's not necessarily completely holistic, comprehensively, but I see incredible power in the center. Is good. Everyone, we can all realize we need clean air, water, food, housing, good relationships, peace. But when you get out to the outer edges, there's like all these details of like, well, what about the radiation in the ocean? You start asking all of these really specific little tiny questions on the outside. And that's where I'm getting the nitty gritty in my organization. Is like, wow, it's easy in the beginning. Oh, that has 3 branches or 6, and it just keeps going. And you get to the point where we're like, wow, how am I going to do this? And so it comes down to finding like interests. And I'm realizing that I need to find other people that want to do what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm going to be alone. Well, see, that's the thing. There's a collective kind of connection, but I see the potential for this networking to be, through open sourcing, about the most powerful thing we could possibly do for each other.
Yeah. And to make it accessible too.
Yeah.
To make it into such a digestible format that someone could have a passing interest and see something, and over time that will just engage their interest, and they can get deeper and deeper into it. And it's already there. We don't really have to make a whole marketing thing about it. It's just like, if we inquire within, we can already see it. We can already see it playing out. And another thing I would like to say is about decentralization. And when I'm talking about the movement that's moving through us right now, just so I can see how many people here, I feel like we all feel it, but I just want to see a show of hands. Like, do you feel like the movement that's moving through us is basically the new earth, or this new paradigm? Like, this new way of being?
I feel like we're all in charge of it. And I feel like if we go around the room and everyone says their dream, every single one, we're all interconnected, and we can all make it happen because we're all connected, and it's gonna like lay on top of each other. Like, I want a theater group, and someone else in this room wants to sing, and then that person wants to dance, and then that person wants a farm, and then that other, and we're all gonna be connected in that way.
They feed the dancers because...
Exactly.
So bring a lot of
in. So all we need is a plan, I guess.
Should we maybe spend some time going around just saying like what everybody's skills and then hopeful interests are?
Yeah,
what
that'd be
they'd
good.
like to be into?
I was thinking maybe a little later. I don't know. I was thinking of a survey, but that's
I think
totally...
we should have done that first, to be honest.
Well, you got the list, yeah?
I think
do it for the next
something
one.
that I feel is, that's easy. I think that's easy. I think we all have common, similar dreams, aspirations. That's why we're all here. But what I feel and find is the monetary roadblock. It's like, okay, let's build a community, let's create our dreams, let's make it happen, but how are we gonna survive doing that in this paradigm that we're living in?
Can I say one thing just about the money thing? I just know it's, ooh, yeah. I just for background information, so you know where I'm coming from. I just recently started 4 organizations. One's a charity, and money is really on my to-do list, right? So I'm realizing that money is what we think of it as money. We're projecting out is usually a dollar bill. When I say money, what do you think? Think paper.
Could be resources though.
Exactly. Now that paper is owned by the people who print it. And that's a private organization. So what you're projecting out as what you need is not actually it doesn't actually have any value. So if we can shift our perception, I'm having to do this myself, that's why I'm only sharing now.
Me too.
I have to shift my understanding of what's value and what's power and what's what gets things done, so that I don't have that paper roadblock, because that paper is like, I wish,
That's exactly what I call it.
it's tricky.
Paper
So-
money.
Right.
My sense on that is that we can hypothesize and work on our own constructs of what paradigm shifts we're experiencing, but my intuition is that we're still within that system in a certain realm.
If
And
we
we're
choose
all,
to be.
there's like,
No, we
we
are.
are
Daily
within that
It's
system.
that you're
That's-
choosing.
food,
No,
no.
you're totally choosing
No.
through perception.
We're
to
embedded.
operate
Literally,
within-
It's both
so
and.
we are
embedded.
within that system on a certain level, and then there's like a paradigm above that or in a different, conceptual space. also within the space that we're living, because we're multidimensional, that is not that structure. But right now, that structure is a part of the way that every single one of us has chosen collective consciously to participate. So like, even though some of us aren't on that paradigm, it's a collective situation. So my sense is that you understand that it's play. And you play within it until that critical mass develops, because that's where we're headed, is the critical mass. That's what that whirlwind of money was about, where there's that hole. And that's when it really becomes a shift. Like, we're shifting, but that's that throw point, that tipping point. So the consciousness shift that needs to take place is, it's play. And like, we all get to play within it until it's different.
Yeah.
And the second that enough people decide that it's play is when it switches.
Right.
So that's the conscious control that we have. That's my intuition, that's my understanding, that's like the realm that I'm in that's brought me a lot of joy. And like, not that I don't have my own, workings, duh. But like, that's where I think that that's the critical point that we all need to enter into now, is play with it until it's not that way.
Yeah.
Well, I see it as you have the possibility to
That's
start your own thing, and then, like basically your own community where you don't need to play in the old ways. You could just start the new one, because that's the whole point, is someone has to start it. It has to start somewhere. Why don't we just do it now?
Every advancement of technology and whatever started with one or more people having an idea and working with it until it caught on.
Yeah.
And the shift happened.
Mm.
And the other thing too is we each have an amazing amount of potential in that, what did you call it, the creative realm that's before things come into the three-dimensional?
With the template level of reality, which is the imaginary domain.
The imaginary domain, there's so much potential in that, and if you are collectively working together with that and bringing things through, it multiplies the potentiality of that, right? Whoever's here. So you can create momentum in that with your ideas, and then that in itself will magnetically draw in opportunities.
Mm.
But if you basically never get out the door because you're afraid it's not possible in this reality, then you don't take a step. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's like what that means to me, like when you stop fighting yourself with that I'm scared, because it's the system to take a step. It's like, okay, play with it, and then you have like the courage to take that step and create that new thing. That's like,
Well,
yeah.
let's just, I feel like I was a little bit misunderstood.
I just want to say, I thought most of what you said, man, was right on. I mean, decoupling the idea of resources from the dollar, the idea of abundance that doesn't necessarily have to come through money. I thought that was like really.
I think another very important thing is separate desire from necessity. Like if we can learn to realize like what we really need and find efficiency in what we all do and come together as a community, most often we waste our money and time on things that fulfill like a need for community. And if we have that community, we don't need that other stuff.
Yes, there's a guy with no shirt.
It's hot, and
No, I think it's awesome.
I want to add to that. I've sort of had a similar discussion in the past. It's about perspective on money, and I'll just tell you about this guy. Like, his name was Sundrew. He was from Memphis. I called him the fair weather hippie. He wanted to be in the woods all the time, except when it was raining. That's when he knocked on my door. And which was fine, but I didn't tell him I called him the fair weather hippie, but he was. And he was like, I don't want to make money. I don't want to be part of that system. I don't want to be, And so I had this sort of thought experiment with him. Well, money is nothing. I know we don't have to go into the Federal Reserve and all of that and the control and all that kind of stuff. But money is really a symbol of your heart and soul. Whenever you put your energy into, someone gives you something that represents that. And then you take that, which is a representative of their heart and soul, and we trade it around. So somebody might be manipulating the interest rates on it. But that's a different story. But we shouldn't get caught up in, I mean, not to say we don't have to pay the bills and everything, but perspective is important on not letting these things limit us in a world that has limitations, because we can be creative with how we think about it. One method is to need less, but another method might be to open yourself to abundance that doesn't look like the abundance that you might be wanting.
Sort of desire collectively as a group to bring those.
And I've been considering, it's definitely along this theme that we're talking about right now. I've been considering, what if we were to collectively kind of, I guess, pool our resources and, I guess churches do tithing, where you take like 10% of your paycheck, whatever, and you put it into the community. But the problem with that is that nobody knows where that money's going, and it's probably going to the pastor or something. And it's like, well, why not use the power of all of us, instead of like one person like foraging for a particular resource, which we call money, and then putting it together so we can basically, I would say, use the system to get out of this system, because we're kind of like, we're tired of it. We're tired of, I know I'm a little tired of working, full-time job. It's like, it's a little like, I would rather be doing something like this, like putting together transmissions, where like
and
there's
like
imagery.
How to find a way to facilitate you like creating a livelihood in doing that. It's like, how can we make it so that we can all do what we want to do and thrive doing it.
It's like an intentional community credit union at the center of your circle.
And it's also like for example, I need my own computer, like one that's like that I can use, that is not going to somebody else, is just like I can use it. It's my tool. Because to do stuff like this, I have to have tools to do it. So it's like, in order to carry out my passion, my interest, the love for what I do, I need to have my tool. So it's like, then when we start putting it out there, like putting it into the queue, or putting it into the fishbowl, like this is what I need. And then like, over time, you could get that. And it just takes like, it's kind of like that thing that you need is basically your intention. Your intention is that you want to do your work full time, like your work, something that has meaning to you and like you're passionate about. And then that thing fits into your intention. And so it's like, how can we support each other to get what we need to live out our bliss? And I feel like actually we're pretty hungry for connecting with each other, like hungry to have that support and know that it's there, instead of like, I know I've had like flicky friends and stuff, and it's like, it's hard to rely on that support when you don't actually have that bond, and I feel like we have this bond here right now, and let's do something with that. So
I agree.
What are we waiting for?
If I could just share personally, and I want to let you go then, this is real quick. I'm just aching to share my desires of needs and gifts. Like, I have these huge gifts and these huge needs and desires, and I'm just like, I wonder if I'm the only one. Like, I've got like all this incredible power to give, at the same time, like, I'm like struggling with like my money issues and like how to feed and like get myself over there, So I think think the connection, the plugging in, and like you have hot desert, and then you have cold like cumulus. You get a tornado. You know what I mean? Because they want to equalize. You know, so we have all these like great needs and then great gifts, and we're all walking around carrying these like deficits. And if we just merge through the synergy, we could create the most powerful forces for creation. With that connection, yeah.
I love that you opened up this discussion because I feel like you just lifted this, heady weight that was in the room.
The whole time for like 2 hours, I was like, should I just fart and get it over with?
And I feel like it's a really good seed that is being planted in our brains about how to enact exactly what we're talking about, or at least in a way that's reachable or accessible to me. I mean, everything that William and Kara shared, and you as well, I'm a lot of that stuff I'm hearing for the first time. And so a lot of it is very, although I'm totally open to it, and it's like I feel like my mind is, I can feel it, like doing cartwheels and back bends. A lot of it is really hard for me to transfer into something like tangible and here and now. And what's your name? Morgan talks about theater, which is something familiar to me. And so I can imagine that what this like community that we're talking about, and this exchange and this like these holy moments just like happening in this like this existence in the joy of the present moment. I can imagine that in the form of theater or like improv or games or whatever. And tonight I'll because I knew nothing about what was going on tonight except that it was like a community building event, because I wasn't on the Facebook page or whatever. I imagined it being something a little bit more like an event that I used to attend in Austin when I was living there, which is just some dude that would open up his home to his friends and his friends of his friends. And he said, and it was kind of like a picha kucha. I don't know if anybody has heard of picha kucha, but it's like, I think that in Japanese translates as chit chat, and it's just like people getting together and sharing with very loosely, like with loose structure about how they want to share it, just whatever is inspiring them that day. And it could have been some dude that like, he put his like toothbrush on the end of like a saber sword. I don't know, it was completely random and inexplicable, but he was stoked about it, and he was on fire, about his saber toothbrush. And for me, it was like some little like plant terrarium things that I was playing with, and for somebody else, it was a story that they were writing, and someone else, it was like how yoga was changing her life, and perhaps in the future, just whoever wants to host it, whoever has the structure or maybe the palm fronds to house us for a day, we could get together and do something of that nature where we're just like, we're present, we're there, and that's when all that synchronicity, co-creation and networking, because I'm already like, there's already 4 people in the group right now that I'm gonna go talk to them. Yeah. And we're gonna, I want to know them while I'm here, and I don't know, I just feel like, while a lot of that stuff feels somewhat out of reach for me in the moment because it's so fresh and so new and kind of crazy. I also feel like we could witness it in its most like bare, essence or form.
Yeah, kind of like a circle where we all just come together and talk about whatever. Like, I had this idea and this inspires me today. Oh, cool. Well, this inspires me, and it's just like we go from there, not like a.
It just feels a little more translatable to me that way. But obviously, many of you speak the language, and so that's cool too. But That's just like, I'm just throwing that out there as an idea for like,
Future.
yeah.
It sounds like the mate of art and science.
Yeah.
Like one is fully intuitive and
Yeah.
spontaneous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And freeform. The other one's just like, all right, this is how you're gonna do it. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also like speaking from a person who has a pretty strong artistic inclination and a mind that is so hungry for science and doesn't know shit about it. And like I will not go online and read a bunch of stuff. Like that is not my nature. I'm not gonna learn that way. I won't retain it. It's not gonna happen. But there are some pretty amazing minds in this room who get that information in that way and can translate it. And I think it's a neat idea. I mean, I don't know, I'm just blabbing, but I think it's a neat idea to have situations like this where information is presented. I think that there's a value in that. Like, I think that there's a value in the chit chat, and I also think that there's like a really strong value in you standing up there and Kara and William and just educating our minds about these things and enriching our minds and having forum where things are translatable, because you know, like, it's not always appropriate to go take a class. Like, sometimes we just need a forum to talk about what's happening on the intellectual side of life that we don't get, most of us, or not most of us maybe in this room, but a lot of us don't get exposed to on a daily basis. So that to me as a community builder, to bridge that, like, that science, art, and spirituality, I think we have places where we can go with the spirituality and the community, you know, in this space or whatever it looks like. I mean, by space I mean people. That can happen, and then people have their own spirituality, whatever, art, people who are creating on their own projects, we can really support each other in that and network. I really like the idea of the coming together and the weaving of information and sharing of knowledge that has the science, because that to me feels less accessible in a group space. And so I think that that's a really critical, just speaking from my own heart, of a thing that can be really profoundly expansive for a community, and I think can create the foundation of a network, because I think the people who are going to keep reappearing for that solidity are going to be the ones who can support each other with the artistic expression, and really have the resources. That's where that resource, like, oh, I have that paint, I have that canvas, I have, you know, like, I know a guy who does the technology aspect of what you want. Oh, this guy has a stage, like, why don't you go, you know, so like, the more that that network comes together, like.
And isn't that the point, to merge right and left brain together? So if we do it here, it proves what we can do with the whole. Like, Africa is very right brains and starving, and the United States is very like left brain with technology. That's the whole point of everything, is to merge it within yourself, within the group, and then within the collective. And we can start it here.
Like, I'm all about, like, science talk, art night. Like, you know, like, on the, you know, one here, one here. I just to throw out ideas for, like, how community actually comes together.
So what do you guys think about next time we get together? Because there will be a next time. It may not be everybody here, but.
I have a question before we get into that. What did you call the commune at the beginning? It was CCC?
Co-creative Communion.
Co-creative Communion. Does anyone envision this to be like a self-sustaining community that is like living together, or is this supposed to be a network spread out over an area?
I think at this point it'd be more appropriate to have a network.
A network spread out.
Just spread out.
Right.
And you know, not everybody's going to want to work together.
Exactly. That's one thing that's crossing their mind. We have to respect individual desire and space.
But I think the next time we get together, I think it would be really awesome to have just an art party.
Play night.
Yeah, just a research party. Like, just like talk about it, have fun, have music. It's loud, it's kind of obnoxious, but just.
Or maybe we could at least go around the room and say our names and what our visions
some
are.
Structure. Yeah.
And some kind of
maybe in the
putting
beginning.
our energy into it as versus 4 people talk and the rest listen. Because I want to hear everyone's dream.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, there's something I'd like to briefly share that isn't just my dream, but it's someone actually asked me to start attending community meetings to find out kind of what is going on on Kauai, and what this person is doing right now is he's got a lot of ears and he's got a lot of funds for a lot of different aspects of education. And when he looked at the idea of creating a common language for people and sustainable community, he thought that the farming issue was being well handled, so he went into education. And so he's trying to create programs that reach children that are not being reached by the school system. So he's actually he has the funds to actually pull them out of the school system and teach them things. So he's looking for programs that can be created, and they can be about anything, right?
Well, there's some already going on. His friend Greta and
Taj.
Yeah.
they're doing their own what's called alternative school.
Yeah, this is a little different. These are enrichment programs for 9 to 12, right? And what he is looking for are adults that would like to kind of begin to bridge with a common language, you know, and inspire, just like you're talking about inspiring everybody here, inspiring youth to be interested in consciousness, to be interested in pursuing careers
Well,
that
it's
have
funny
nothing
kind
to
of-
do with corporate,
Yeah,
even though they're coming from corporate.
yeah.
And he's also has a goal to infiltrate business and government eventually, which is, he's a lot more patient than I am, you know, with this idea. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be on island because I'm going off island for a little bit, but Jesse's also been exposed to many of his programs, and so, you know, we could talk more about that then. But, you know, for people that have ideas that would like to have them funded, there are some avenues, right?
Well, I wanted to start a theater program for kids to teach spiritual views, like acting it out. Whether it's how to clean up the freaking ocean, how to pick up trash on the ground, how to not eat garbage.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is the Department of Education does have funding for those kind of programs that are out of school. And so, I mean, there can be opportunities for adults to support youth because they are the future, right?
Yeah, they're the new
star
new
children. You know, and so the synergy you're talking about, you know, I mean, it's not involving maybe living on the same property now, but in order to live on the same property, there needs to be a language that works for everybody, that everybody understands.
Communication. Extremely
A
important.
common
Open
kind of,
communication.
yeah,
I feel
open
like
communication.
most of the problems in the communities that I've seen that do not work is because lack of communication. Someone is not expressing something that is bothering them or not expressing something they desire.
It's
Right.
usually a closed conditioning and belief system.
Oh, what's that?
Usually closed conditioning and belief system that creates that.
I'm not really familiar with that term, closed conditioning.
Well, just conditioning in general
Yeah.
from the older
Oh,
generation.
certainly, yeah, just
yeah.
from your,
Yeah.
upbringing.
Yeah.
Can I just emphasize the education aspect and how important it is that we get the kids set up? Yeah, I just really want to. That was my start because I grew up not really getting what I needed as a kid, and I'm pretty certain as I'm not the only one. So the idea is that I live in a very fortunate world, reality where I can drink water out of springs, and I can go to a healthy hut and buy some like organic food. And to whom much is given, much is required. And to be perfectly honest with you, I just want to like get to a place where I can inspire kids, because these kids are fucking powerful. Excuse my French. And these are things that I don't want to do in front of them. For example, like cursing, smoking weed, binging on chocolate. These are just. It's funny now.
I'm sorry.
Sitting in front of a TV.
Oh yeah, cruising on the internet, just like blowing energy and life force on worthless, in fact damaging things. The point is that I just want to empower myself through fasting and meditation and just like collective like integration of health, so I can just be a healthy person and be able to look into the eyes of the child and be like, you know what, I'm with you. You're gonna be okay, because people like us are hooking it up for
And
you.
give them healthy role models.
Yes. No more cigarettes, none of this bullshit. I'm just tired of it.
Being an example of what
We'll see how this works. She expressed that she has this going on with kids, and then you go, oh, I want to teach kids, and then that's how this is going to go.
Yeah, I think for me to feel a good closure for tonight, I would like to quickly hit everybody. And just if someone can briefly say like one thing that they're with right now, and then also some sort of plan, like are we meeting again and how do we want to do it? Like I kind of like the idea of at least touching base with each person and just them saying something of where they're at, who they are. And then, you know, if we want to change the format of that eventually where it like morphs into like art party or something, that's fine. But I think if we're building networks and community, we gotta touch base with everybody.
Well, tonight was really an experiment. It's just entirely out of curiosity, and I just wanted to put something into this feeling that I've been feeling. So I'm not like seeing this as like, you know, something's happening. I'm just like curious. Everybody is like super interesting, and I think everybody is really beautiful, and I feel like we have something going on. And I can't say when we'll meet next time. I would rather have it be instead of like every week or something, because maybe like bi-weekly or once a month or something. Just, I mean,
that's too distant.
However we feel.
We won't get as much done as we
Yeah.
Well, we have the email list. If everybody signed the email list, we can just
We should do more
let
in
you know.
person though.
Yeah, a lot more in person.
Oh, in small groups.
And if anyone has a space, an idea for a space, a larger, beautiful, high vibrational space would be great.
We weren't really intending on having it be here.
I think the vibration's pretty high.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I have a really beautiful space on the property where I live, and it's a barn where my auntie does art. So
Nice.
I can talk to her. She's out of town right now, but I'm almost positive she'd be really open to it.
Great.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
I keep seeing too the 12 around one, maybe rather than being a person, being an idea that we've collaborated on or a project, like we're going to create this one module for this man who has money, and actually, you know, the 12 being the different resources needed that everyone brings, which would take the collaboration too. But there's a lot on the island. There's Lisa who's doing the organic restaurant that would probably be a venue that could house theater and other things. But I really like the tangible, like, you know, a curriculum for this to be done. It's kind of like we've all done enough school, and during a school semester you get projects and you work as teams and you have an outcome that feels good. But I kind of see that collaboration on a project that ultimately could bring some money, or it could be supported so that your time was used. And even if not, maybe we create something that then allows us to bring it to the community to bring money to build something else. So there's not a school project that just kind of ends, but it like builds on each other. If
Yeah,
we
that's
could
definitely
be
the
that
idea.
way.
Is
Yeah.
bringing it to the whole community so that the community has a cohesive language to create self-sustainability in all aspects.
So I just like the idea that there's one person with the funding who wants to hit this target area, where I think our towns could just do something awesome that could be modeled or spread by YouTube or whatever. And then there's the larger vision of common ground being up for sale, that if we started a restaurant with a farm, that it could, then we'd have a venue for children. Like, it could really grow huge with the seed of this first meeting.
So we'll just go around, get everybody to speak maybe a few sentences about what you're passionate about, and maybe what you can bring to us.
I got some. I'm Susie. I went to school for eco-psychology. I haven't used it at all. My excuse is that I was intimidated that I couldn't make money doing things like Joanna Macy's Coming Back to Life workshops, if any of you are familiar with her. And I just realized today that the reason I'm not doing that is because I gave up on it thinking I couldn't make money doing it. But there's no reason I couldn't just do it with my friends as like, let's connect with the earth and each other through these like crystallized experiences. So I'm happy to offer that if we ever want to do that as a group.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Hello.
And should we just pop like popcorn, or should we just go in
Let's
a
go.
Can we do one in person, one time? Yeah.
I need to go now because this is building up way too much anxiety.
You want to just go and then we can go after you?
Okay, whatever you want. I have I'm Bonnie. I got here about 20 days ago. I'm here indefinitely. I've got a shit ton of passions. Okay, I'll give you 3. Movement, social bonds, I don't know, and health. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. But
Where are you from?
I'm from Lake Forest, which is in Southern California. Thanks.
That's probably from sitting That's probably from sitting next to me. I have to like sit on my hands to not talk.
You want to go?
Huh?
You want to go next?
No. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You left.
I have a problem.
We're being too polite.
I have a huge problem with talking a lot, so I have to like hold back a lot. So anyway, I already mentioned my passion is just bringing that back, play, to inspire people to be who they are, and because I kind of see it as everyone has a life purpose. Everyone has something to give this world. So what I do is like to inspire people to live their purpose, whether it's being a vet, or being an artist, or being an actor, and kind of support them. Because I believe, as soon as you start following your life purpose, the universe takes care of you. The universe catches you when you decide to take that leap. And so my thing is I really like pulling that out of people is what is your life purpose? Of anything you could ever do in the entire world, what would you do? And then help them to get there. Because everyone has some big dream that they've always wanted to do or that they recently saw, oh, I've always wanted to do that. So I just really want to help people pull that out. Because it's a lot of fun and it's like I'm proof of that. You like start living your life purpose and the universe literally takes care of you. So anyway, mine's theater and singing and dancing and all that stuff. So anyway, your turn.
I'm Rachel, and I've been kind of doing the undefined thing for the past 3 months, but today it just sort of hit me what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I'll speak it into the group, and I want to be a resource for women's health. That's just my biggest passion, and it unites everything that I care about. And I've been having these experiences over the past year where the training that I've done has really started to come to fruition, and I'll get phone calls from women I've never met before because somebody passed along my number and I have information to share, and that just feels really incredible to be channeling the things that I've been given by my elders and my teachers, and so I feel really excited about doing that, and I mean, loving up the men too, of course. Believe me, I know. And so just integrating those masculine and feminine energies feels really important for me, but specifically towards women's health. And so when we were talking about just generating ideas and how we can continue the thread of the community, I started to see, like, actually on paper, a resource guide, where each person's name and contact information is listed, along with things that they're offering and what they might be offering in trade. Because in that way, you have this exponentially growing community that also has resources to share and doesn't necessarily need to depend on money. Although we're honoring that as a currency, there is so much wealth amongst us, and I feel like the thing that they can never take away from us is our knowledge. And so if we have the opportunity to share it out with each other on a really practical level, like the skills that we've all been working hard to acquire and putting our own resources into, that's more than a few sentences, but I guess I just didn't speak earlier, and I wanted to share that as a potential idea, the link, the thread of the community, as the meeting disintegrates and people go back into their own daily existences. So I'm a resource for women's health. Hell yeah.
Yay.
I am Anna, and although I have many facets to and passions throughout all of the categories, but I'm finding that the thing that really makes my heart sing is being with children and realizing like giving them care and guiding them, but at the same time I think like the root and the depth of it is helping them to like express feelings, or just to like manage how they feel, because I feel like as children we weren't really, or I wasn't at least like facilitated in that way, and I think it's really important to kind of sit with them and have that patience to help them through not only like feelings, but expression, and just like helping them to understand why. I think that was a big question for me as a kid, and just like, okay, if we can't climb up that tall rock and jump off in the shallow water because it's too shallow and we're gonna hurt our legs, or just like awareness on this subtle level of just like the little ones is just a beautiful thing, and I really, really, really love it. So that's definitely what lights my fire.
Yay.
I'm Max, and some of my gifts are art and carpentry and invention and mechanics, and I pair that with intuition. So I intuitively create, but also have a sort of engineer's brain that can figure out how to take a conceptual idea and bring it into a tangible reality, and intuitively understand the forces that need to come together to make that. So I can build things, I can fix things, and I can also take an idea and see the components which could make it work, and engineer it a few different ways depending on the needs. So I offer that. I love making art.
I love your art.
I have a very intuitive process with my own life. I really like strong intuitive feedback. So I'm working with that all day, yet so I kind of like one foot in each world as far as the intuitive and the logical. Yeah.
Awesome. My name is Daniel, and what really, really, really makes me happy and makes me feel like a kid again, that innocence, is like playing, almost like reckless playing. Like playing in the ocean, or just like running as fast as I can through a field and trying to catch a frisbee or something. And then there's also the whole play with art, with like graphic design or animating things. Like I love animating. And, I guess play is animating. It's you're animating your body, and like being goofy is really fun. And actually just saying it, I'm like, wow, I don't get enough of that. I just don't let loose and just like not give a a fuck, you know. I've got enough fucks to give.
You should try it.
I love art, I love play, and I love holding space for others. Whether you just need to speak, just to like process something. I love doing that. I love being there for the process. So, and holding, I like to also call it holding space. So, that's me.
I like that you said that because that helps my share a little bit too. There's.
I just want to say, everybody who's talked, I'm like, yes, me too.
Yeah.
So, I think, yeah, that's good.
I know it's kind of weird, but take some of these if you want them and get it past you. Otherwise, it's like totally stuck there. So you know,
Network of the peanuts.
So my name is Maya, and there's 3 main areas that I'm completely on fire about. And one is women's work. That takes different forms. One is creating the networks and the platforms to bring cohesion to this movement. And that, again, comes in multiple forms. And the other is healing, transmuting, moving beyond these old paradigms in our consciousness. It's a lot of belief work and shifts in the subconscious and other forms. My talents and passions are in writing and dance and art, for sure, is a big one. And also, like, similar to what you were saying, I love creating space, and I also, I see people. Like, when I hear someone's story and background and their passions, I instantly know, you know, they're gonna do it, and I want to help them do it. And so I'm a great person just to bounce things off of, you know, visionary like most of all of us. So I love that. I thrive on it, and yeah.
My name is Jesse, and I just remember the graphic of the science and art and spirituality, and I'd say that encompasses everything that I do, but it's really would be getting too specific to say anything else. So I know that the aspects of all those 3 things that I love doing are communicating, inspiring, coaching, and teaching. Any of those 3 things. So yeah, education is, I think, huge. Like we've all touched on it, but I think it's huge because I've got a son who's 15 months old, so you know, I see him and I know that's what I need to do is show him how to be. So that's me.
My name's Daya, and there's a lot of things that I love, and many of you have touched on them. One aspect of the work that I'm doing is what I've shared with you. One is my degree is actually in leadership, and one of the things that I love to do is work with people, whether that's with their business ideas, but more from a spiritual perspective, personal like transpersonal therapy, or in community, and kind of that whole network of weaving people together. And what I'm really excited about is going really deep, myself and with others, really connecting to their authentic self, to my authentic self, and finding what's really juicy, and just being really real with that. And I've lived in community several times, and I love it, and it's fiery, and if you're up for it, it's super powerful. It'll challenge you, right? When you think it won't, it will. So I guess that's enough about me for now. I'm sure that we can. I've got lots of great. My intuition is kind of like, you say, oh, I want to do this. I'm like, oh, you should talk to Jesse, or you should talk to Naya, or you should talk to. That's kind of my natural hit, and so I'm pretty good with that kind of resourcing conceptually. And so that's what I'm doing with Mason. So.
My name is Raul. I like most of the things you guys have talked about and have sometimes been involved in them one way or another. My main passions would probably be some form of play, being physical, like exercise. Usually, I don't know, one thing I'd like to, small like project that I think a lot of people would like and benefit from would be like to get together with people that are into construction that I know and anybody else and create some kind of small like, or maybe large jungle gym / fun factory. Like like
did anybody see the temple at Burning Man this year?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that was amazing construction. But I'm thinking something more that we could like beat up and like, you know, kind of get out all our energy like on and just kind of not beat up, but you know, really like that's something that was delicate, you know, that I was envisioning something that would be very strong and.
I think that was pretty sturdy though. If you looked at the temple
it was.
builders like camp, the structure there
It was,
tight.
but after like a year of like us monkeying around on that, it's gonna be like, you know.
Plywood and
Burn it.
Horticulture is probably my other like passion that I have some experience with, but I'd love to be more involved with the people that I know have a lot more expertise than myself probably and experience and just get involved there.
My name is Dave, and I have a whole host of passions, but I'll kind of limit it. I guess my main passion now, I have a 3-acre farm, and it's permaculture based. I'm into sustainability and all that entails. And I also incorporate intuitive, the intuitive process into working with the earth. And I incorporate sacred geometry into farming and all kinds of other things. So I have fun with it too. So I offer design and consults about that kind of thing. I'm passionate about martial arts. I do Kung Fu and like to teach that to whoever's interested. And I brew beer. So what else? I have a thirst for knowledge. I don't think I've read a novel in years. It's all I just want to. I don't want to waste my time with that. I want the. There's so much else to learn already.
My name's Kara, and yeah, I was really happy to be able to speak a little bit on my passions, which is science and spirituality blending. Education is a really big thing for me in working with children, and yeah, I just feel like as our culture we've been missing the basics, all the geometry and all the awareness of how we're connected to our sources now coming out, and I just want to put that in formats of education for children, and it seems easier for adults. I feel like I'll really get my mastery when I bring it to children, and so I'd really, I'd love to collaborate on anything that's ready and anything larger vision. I've had the ideas of writing a children's book of all this cosmology of oneness with the unified field theory and our nervous system, like welcome to the planet, like understanding these human bodies and the intuitions and those skills, those the energy cultivation that William brings. Early and from 9 to 12 would be great, but the whole range to the kids is really my goal. And the family unit is so important. So bringing education that the parents can join in with the family, and there's that bonding, and there's the educating the adults through the children too. And I memorize Hafez poems, and I've often had people say that we should act these out, we should make theater of them, because they're just deep wisdom, and I just think every time I think of theater, that little plug comes in around getting children involved and just bringing really deep ancient wisdom into play and theater and heart-stirring, inspiring moments that get people in coherent states collectively. That's it.
All right, aloha. I'm Alex. My purpose. This is my purpose. Everyone laughing. It is. But Yeah, Alex. My purpose for being here is intentional and organized synergy. Some of my background in schooling, I went through biology to nursing to engineering and then to permaculture. And so that being said, since the moment I arrived on Kauai, I've been actively engaged in community organizing. I'm a part of GMO-free Kauai and Ohana o Kauai, and our work has culminated into the passing of a revised Bill 2491 that just occurred. So happy about that. Thank you. I also teach. I'm a certified Kundalini yoga teacher as well, so I have that available for trade. I also have produce available for trade, avocados, tons of avocados as we see here, star fruit. I also have medicine available for trade as well, and so, yeah.
What kind?
Well, my shirt. Yeah.
So I got the
Very potent medicine. But yeah, I look forward to us all really, to me, coherence is the ability for symmetrical replication. So I really feel like if we all had the model of being very conscious of what our skills, abilities, and talents are, and then also to be very conscious of what we're interested in learning, we could really develop an economy around that. And so that's a frontier I'd really like to explore with everyone here and interfacing with our unique networks that we all have as well. So yeah, I look forward to this journey, and I'm very thankful that each and every one of us decided to be here tonight, because we all have a plethora of options each day. So thank you.
Student, would you like to step in front of me?
When you stand. No? Okay, no.
You want me to work it for you?
So, I'm Steven, and I grew up loving things like, video games and fantasy and elves and just playing and interacting with people in every way that I can, So, I still have that vision, I have that Lothlorian, living in my soul. I want to see that come as a reality to everyone that wants to be a part of something like that. We can live that way. We can live with the nature and the trees and practice our bows and ride our horses, anything we want to. Let's go for it, And the martial arts are just definitely in my blood, and sword play, everything. I've loved playing that stuff. Totally. So we're going to make this happen. It's going to be epic. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Woo! Everyone's a mythic being.
That's right.
You're legendary.
I'm gonna sit in yours. I'm eating the chocolate right now. Oh. And it's back. No.
Girl, get this away from me.
Yeah, please. Okay, so I really have to offer.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Melissa, and I've only been here a month and a half, and I'm not permanent at this point, although I have intentions of returning. So with that said, really the space that I'm in is about art and creation, and that manifests in a couple of different formats. And so I'm a visual artist and I paint, and I'm really interested in using art as a healing tool. I'm really profoundly intuitive and energetic in my blueprint, and then highly analytical, and I love to tangibly do things. So I like to bring what I see on the energetic realm through to artwork, and I like it to heal people. And that's sort of my design. That's sort of the way I'm programmed. So that's my offering to humanity right now. I feel that really deeply is the space that I'm entering. So sometimes that looks like flowers that are mandalas that are one color and they're intended to heal chakras, and then other times that's your power animal or your totem painted out for you with sacred geometry also in the painting. So whatever flows through, that's sort of the space that I'm holding, and I just want that to touch as many people as possible. So saying that vision is really important for me. It's a newly solidified vision. And part of that vision for me looks like educating children in art. And it's just a passion that I have. I don't have formal art training. And so the way I like to address art is through fearlessness. And I like to, when I work with people, kids or adults, because I've made adults paint who were really uncomfortable painting. So I like to just make them fearless, and I like to hold space for fearless creativity, and I have a couple of different ideas for how to do that. It's not the way that I paint now, which is that like more channeled, energetic artwork, but I definitely want to teach kids art, either in the future or now or whatever. I like saying that. Anyways, so that's part of what I do. The other part of what I do is healing arts and body work. And so I'm available in that realm, but less. I'm sort of focused on how I offer that. I would do trades for body work when I return, but right now it's just art. I really want to hold that space. And then I just want to sing and play.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's it.
High five on that.
That's my chair.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, and I do Reiki. I do like, I didn't even say anything about,
Yeah. Alright, I'm Travis.
You got Travis.
Yeah, I'm a musician. What I really want to be is like an inventor. I want to invent. I'm really, my passion is like free energy. I'm also like, I have a huge passion for health and wellness, and I've also had like people just call me up that I've never met before asking me for like advice on health and stuff, and so that's something that I really enjoy giving. Kind of like counseling and just sharing information, experiences with people to just help them to like feel better really. And what I do a lot during my spare time is I just kind of research like all day long. And I just like to learn things. I like to learn things, you know, and it can become like unhealthy if I get like too stuck in that. So I have to kind of continually like remember to stay grounded. And like what I got from tonight, the most important point for me was like, it was kind of like we're in a circle and we're all looking for sort of a direction of like where we're going, and envisioning the future, you know, for us, and like what's in the middle of the circle. But what's in the middle of the circle, I think, is in the center of each of us, and the ability to, like the presenters talked about, like maintain sort of a heart-centered existence, you know, and the ability to just switch our reality by what we choose to do with the experiences we get, you know, like we get experiences and then we can view those experiences from a lot of different ways, and then it's kind of a feedback loop of consciousness, you know, and we can have a lot of control over that. And so I have to remind myself that all the time, like I am creating my reality to a large extent, but at the same time to remember not to take credit for anything, you know, that I didn't create myself, or you know, the universe is kind of eternal, and so I try not to take credit for anything or ownership of things, and I struggle with that because I like to own things and I like to, you know, like have control, but I have to remind myself of that. So I want to definitely be able to be a leader and inspire people to move forward in like a healthy direction, you know, and definitely teamwork. And you know, we learn in kindergarten the golden rule is kind of like what I want to see is like our guiding principle, you know. So I'm available to help pretty much any way I can, but yeah, let's talk.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Establishing greater coherency.
Shouldn't we own or
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking
I'm
about
just gonna just talk just because I didn't get second. So
Wait,
yeah.
we were gonna. Oh, you were.
Yeah, I didn't get to go.
Oh.
That's okay. It's okay. I was behind the camera. It's fine.
Oh, that's right. You get to go.
That's alright.
Go for it.
I don't think anyone noticed but me. It's fine.
I know.
I'll just keep it short. I don't know what to say. Gosh.
What's your name?
That's not gonna keep it short. My name is Michael. Yeah, and I came here about two and a half years ago on a mission from God to build a health retreat. Because I feel like the biological technology that we have, period, is so profoundly powerful that I think most of us are barely scratching the surface. I mean, I have meditations where I experience things that are difficult to carry through the rest of the daily world, but I sense and feel things that are like, I can feel that it's real. It's not something I'm imagining, and I'm assuming I'm not the only one. Anyone who does yoga, any form of discipline can experience this. So my passion is to empower our bodies to become, we can do anything with these bodies. I was raised a Christian, and I was raised that faith is what actually creates righteousness within yourself. It's called righteousness by faith, is the name of the doctrine. The point is that with the physics, we have the understanding that our consciousness has an intricate connection and feedback, both back and forward, with the collective morphogenetic field, and then that comes back into us. So my passion is to get myself, my internal ecology, representing a healthy planet. Because I understand we're going to attract what we are. And if my internal ecology is healthy, and the permaculture has the right effective microorganisms in it, and because we're 90% bacteria. I don't know if anyone hasn't heard that yet. But
where did you learn that from?
When you take out the water, I just keep hearing it from everywhere.
That's true.
I'm drinking some bacteria right now.
Right. So
10% of our cells are human cells.
So just real quick, I'm just gonna drop to the bottom of it. In my past, I've consumed foods and ideas that have, in some occult references, they reference ideas as a fungus, but they're physical also, these funguses, and they can grow in the digestive tract, and they can grow through and follow the nervous system all the way to the central processing. And you actually don't even know that you're a slave to an alien bacteria.
Are you like talking about Candida, or are you talking about like crazier shit?
Oh, this is beyond Candida. This is stuff that we don't even know about. I mean, like obviously you can look for it in sampling.
Okay.
William would say, but there's like I'm experiencing an enslavement by my desires, and I'm realizing it's not me. There's bacteria that want an acidic, sugar-filled environment. You know, carbon dioxide, all that. They don't want me to breathe. There's a whole host of reasons. And it's inside of me. It's actually who I am because I've been living a life as a standard American diet with television and all this stuff. So that's the bottom of it. I just want to get that out. I want to be fungus free. Only the good fungus. We like those. And then boom, help other kids to do that so they don't end up in the same trap that I did. So.
It's a great skill for you.
Yeah, I just got it. No fungus! And you, like, someone takes all these mushrooms out.
Get rid of them. I have, so that's my mission and kind of desire, but my gifts, I have 3 nonprofit organizations and 1 charity, and my goal is to create networking so we can all create a stabilized architecture that creates moneyless trade and servicing, online, even offline. I'm into alternative energy. I'm more kind of a geek than anything. I just know I have a lot up here. I just need to bring it down. So yeah.
You're saying your projects basically stabilize the foundational structure and the hierarchy of needs?
So that playfulness, that creativity, I believe is only it's not chaos when it's in a structure, but they can't be without each other. The structure cannot not have that. So my idea is to create an architecture, which I already I have it drawn out. I'm just building a website right now, but where people can plug in and it's all there, yeah. So just like the structure, the facilitative structure is kind of what I'm working on right now. It's been about 6 weeks in the making. I already have 1 financial contributor for an aquaponics kit, which is permaculture, but in a self-contained system. So anyway, I could go for a while, but I'll just stop there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, now you can take it up.
One thing.
So.
Oh yeah.
Can we remind people at the end to sign the list so that we can keep it in touch?
I'm good.